Welcome back to Weave Along with Elewys. I'm Elewys of Finchingfield. Today we're going to go back to Estonia to work on a very complex band. And I hope you're ready, because this is the big one. So trying to do a little bit of research on this particular one, which is known as the Virunuka band. I went to Google Translate and copied and pasted a little piece of information that I had found. As I mentioned before, Google Translate leaves a lot to be desired. It translated this tablet weaving as knitting with sounds. I don't know what that means. This Virunuka belt dates from the 12th to the 14th century. This pattern was reconstructed by Barbara Gardberg in the late 1990s from 3 fragments that were found. This one, like the last one we did, is being housed at the Institute of History in Tallinn. According to fiber analysis, the original colors were red and black. It has 38 cards. 4 cards on each side are the border cards, so they will have 4 threads per, and then the rest of them in the middle are all skip hole weave, so there's 2 threads per card, so keep your pencil handy. It's a very random meandering pattern, and there's 182 picks to this repeat, so you will need to be very careful about following the whole pattern, but it's not any more difficult than any of the others that we've worked on. It's just a lot longer. So be patient, follow the pattern, and you'll do just fine. Next up in our Laurel Kingdom project is the Kingdom of Antir, which I happen to know a little bit about because I live here. It was formed in 1982, a former principality of the Kingdom of the West, and it is made up of the states of Washington, Oregon, Northern Idaho, and the provinces of BC, the Yukon, and the Northern Territories, or most of BC. Our colors are black, white, and yellow. So if you're ready, grab your cup of tea. It's going to be a lot of cards, a lot of warping, and a lot of weaving. Let's get started. All right, before you start, you need to make sure that you've got all the equipment that you're going to need. You've got your pattern, and I've got mine printed really pretty tiny, but I think I'm going to blow it up when I actually do the weaving part. Because there are so many steps to it, it needs to be large enough to be legible, or you're just going to get lost. I also have 38 cards. I've decided to do some brown ones for the edge cards, for my border cards, and white ones for the interior ones. One of the reasons why I'm doing this is because I'm actually short a few white cards. And I thought, well, I need to use a different color anyway. I'll just use brown ones for the borders and white ones for the interior. That way when I have to flip the border cards, I can do it a little more easily. It'll be a visual reminder which ones I need to flip and which ones I don't. So that's my thought process with that. I've got my really sharp scissors ready to go. I'll put those over there. I've got my Lazy Kate all loaded up with my 3 color threads, 1 on each stick so they don't tangle up with each other. First color I'm going to do is black. I'm going to do black for the border cards, and then I'm going to do the white and yellow for the interior cards. I think that'll look really striking, and it'll kind of give it that Antir white and gold checky look. So, get the cards out of the way. I do need to put my peg in the furthest position. Tighten it up a little. Oh, there we go. All right, so first card, leave a nice long tail. And I assume that by the time that you're watching this video, you've already seen the introduction a few times of how I go around all the pegs and how I get to the beginning, and I always leave a nice long tail, snip, and the paper's still good. So I probably won't need to repeat a lot of the instructions of how this is done. I will turn the loom sideways so that if you do happen to be new and you don't know how the pegs are all in order, you'll be able to get a nice little side shot. Now every loom is built a little bit differently, so you will need to consult your manufacturing directions to find out how your loom should be warped. Of course, if you really wanted to, you could warp it any way you like. I have sometimes warped this one a little bit shorter, skipping a bunch of the pegs. As long as the pegs don't, or the strings don't overlap on the pegs, which would cause binding. You it doesn't really matter how you warp it. Okay, so that is the first card. So this one is, wow, that's really tiny. This one is S threaded. So if you have your card with the top facing you, and they're labeled A, B, C, D clockwise, you face it toward you. S threaded goes through the left side of the card. So all 4 threads will go through the left side of the card. Again, these cards were made by my husband on his 3D printer. He's still having some issues with some of the different plastics and getting some nice refined finish on them. He's not really happy with it. So he still hasn't posted it on Thingiverse, but there is a version of tablet weaving cards on Thingiverse made by a guy named Snorri. I'll have the link in the description for that particular pattern if you have a 3D printer and you would like to have some printed up. We haven't done a test on that. I've asked my husband, but I think he forgot. So, oops, I will ask him again. I forgot. I gotta roll up my sleeves. He's always getting in the way. So, we have card number 1 done. Tea break. Ooh. Right. Card number 2. Oh, I forgot to show you the side view. I will do that in a minute. I had a commenter say something about, I had said Schnipp, which apparently is a German word. I used to live in southeastern Wisconsin where there was a lot of Germans, huge German bunch of settlers, or a bunch of, a bunch of settlers from Germany settled in southeastern Wisconsin. And just being around them, occasionally some of the old words from Germany were still around. Words like Schnibbel and, oh gosh, I can't even remember anymore right now. But yeah, occasionally I'll say something that is probably Germanic, and I have no idea. I did take a little bit of German in high school and a little bit more in college, but never got anywhere close to mastering the language. But sometimes these things just sneak into your vocabulary and never leave. All right, card number 2. Again, facing you. This is Z threaded, so all the threads will go through the front of the card, or the right side of the card. So you'll pull the threads from the front to the back. This makes a huge difference when you're weaving. It angles the threads differently and can turn a really cool pattern into gobbledygook if you have it threaded the wrong way. And just flipping the cards like that doesn't always help, especially if you have different colors and different holes, and yeah, it just turns it into an absolute mess. So I've got my surgeon's knot, and scoot all the threads back. So I'm going to give you a quick side view of the loom. Hopefully you can see it. Whoa! I just knocked over everything. Okay, so here's a side view of the loom. It goes from this top peg around to this back peg, and back and forth until you get to these front 3 pegs. I go around the bottom peg, the tension peg, and then the front peg. And someone did ask me about this little piece of elastic. The only thing that this is for is when I'm weaving, I take my shuttle and stick it underneath here so that it doesn't fall off. So when I'm moving things around, it doesn't fall onto the floor and unravel and make a big mess. So that's what that's for, in case you're wondering. So, card number 3. Now on my pattern, I had mismarked this as a Z-threaded card, but it is actually S-threaded. So, I mean, you could do either one. It doesn't really matter, but it'll look nicer if it's S-threaded, so that way it's got a nice little zigzag pattern on the edge. Border cards are not nearly as important as the interior pattern cards. But if you want symmetry, if you want it to have, you know, the almost knitted look, then you will need to be paying attention to how the threads are warped through your cards. Let's see. It is an unusually sunny day here in normally rainy Western Washington, in Ontier. I got out and planted a bunch of bulbs the other day. My son was helping me with that, my youngest. He likes being helpful, especially if it means that he can get away from his schoolwork. Let's see, this is S-threaded. Okay. So we planted a whole bunch of bee and butterfly friendly flowers. Some tulips and some gladiolas, I think, and some crocuses, a couple other things. I can't even remember. Is it narcissus? I guess I'll find out in the spring when they grow. They were in a bunch of, like a group of tulip and flower bulbs. Just a bunch of them in there. So I don't remember what was in it. And I threw away all the packaging, of course, so I guess I will find out when they grow. If they grow, hopefully they will. So we also have a couple of mason bee boxes out front. My husband got interested in having mason bees, so we've got a couple of boxes of mason bees in our yard. Anything to help the bees. I'm actually very interested in apiary skills. I wish I could kind of learn a little bit more about it. I mean, other than just watching YouTube videos, which I've been doing, but actually getting some hands-on experience would be really fun. I'm not really afraid of being stung, but my husband is because he's allergic, so we probably won't be able to get any bee boxes for ourselves. What have you guys been doing? I mean, everybody's getting ready for Christmas season. Okay, this one is Z-threaded. Oh, this is the last border card for this side. Twice around, and then once around, and screw them all back. The next 30 cards are going to be 2 colors. Alrighty, so 2 colors at once. Again, put your finger between the threads so that they don't twist around each other. whole mess of cards. Okay, so this first one, let's see, yellow is black on this pattern and red is white. So A is yellow, and these are all Z-threaded. So we're going to go through the front of the card. A is yellow and C is white. And they'll always go diagonally from each other. One, two. Now, the one thing that I find really frustrating about these plastic cards is that they're not numbered. And I've tried doing permanent marker on them, but the kind of plastic and the oils from your skin and the abrasion from the threads, eventually the ink just wears off, which is too bad. I mean, I've had to re-ink the edges of the cards so that I know the home position or the AD position, and yeah, it keeps wearing off. Okay, card number 2, B, is the yellow color. It's going to be a very subtle pattern. I figured if I did black and yellow on the interior, it would just look like bumblebees, which is fine because we like bees, as we just discussed. But I thought the white and yellow would be kind of a prettier, more subtle pattern. Whew. Going to pull the thread through the shed. Nice long tail. Good 2 fingers from the knots. Turn all the cards forward. We've got those diagonal stripes. Looks like they could be pulled in a little tighter over here. Alright, we're about 30 minutes into this. I'm on row 28. Or 27 or 28. Really slow going. I really need to get some tea. I'm going to take a tea break. So after having a few technical issues, that is, I discovered that my pattern was not complete. I had to fix that. And I realized that the filming that I did earlier didn't have the weaving in the frame. So all you could see was this much of the cards, and that's not terribly useful. So I'm kind of in the middle of the pattern. Well, I'm at the beginning of the next repeat. So I'll just weave a little while and show you what it looks like. So this is going to be a little bit unlike some of the other videos that I've done earlier because this is such a complex pattern and it's really not meant to be for beginners, but there are some people who like to watch the weaving, regardless of whether or not they actually can do it. So I'm happy to just weave on film and hopefully not get my hands and arms in the way too much. But we're just going to go ahead and dive in. I'm starting back at pick number 1 and 2. Like many of the other skip hole weaves, these are done in pairs. So pick 1 and pick 2 are the same, 3 and 4 are the same, 5 and 6 are the same, and so on, all the way through the pattern. I always use a ruler when I'm following these really complex ones, so that I don't lose my place. The only thing I don't have is a cup of tea, but it is 10:30 at night and I'm not going to go get caffeine right now. So, since we're starting at the beginning again. Oh, and I re-inked my cards. It's already starting to fade a little bit. It rubs off on your hands. So, 4 down, 2 up, 4 down, 2 up, 2 down, 2 up, 2 down, 4 up, 2 down, 4 up, and 2 down. Now, I don't know if you can see it really clearly on this video, but the dark gray background are the cards that are coming down, and the white backgrounds are the ones that are staying up, and then that's the direction we're going to turn the cards. So all the ones that are down are turning towards me, and then I'm going to take the pencil and stick it in there. These ones are all turning forward very carefully. This pattern is already turning out really quite striking. And I was concerned when I was first warping it whether to put the white as the foreground or the yellow as the foreground. And the more I looked at it, the more I thought, well, there really isn't a foreground and a background. And then it doesn't really matter because it's reversible. So what's foreground on this side is background on that side. So, And pick number 3 and 4. Those all go forward, 2 forward, 4 back, 2 forward, 4 back, 2 forward, 2 back, 4 forward, 2 back, 4 forward, 2 back, and the rest forward. Carefully turn the cards. Because this one is so complex, it's going a lot slower than a lot of the other weaves that I've done. So when I said be patient, I really meant it. You really have to be patient. So when I changed directions on the border cards, it made a little lump on the side. Totally normal. Most of the time you don't even notice it. Just pull it a little extra tight and keep on moving. And we are at pick 9. think I'm going to call it a night. It's almost 11 o'clock, and I'm tired. So one thing I'm going to do before I stop for the night, put the pencil in there, I'm going to take this pencil out and mark where I stopped. So that way, in case, somebody knocks the ruler, I'll know where I need to start up again. And a pencil so I can erase it and mark it for the next time. So, all right, I'm going to go to bed. Good night.